Some of these animals sound too big to be real. A scorpion the size of a crocodile. A shark with a saw blade for a mouth. A fish so large, scientists spent a century arguing over how big it actually was. And a whale, heavier than anything that's ever lived on this planet. Discovered 3 years ago. Not in some ancient dig site. Recently, we've mapped less than 20% of the ocean floor. We know more about the surface of Mars than we know about our own seabed. Every creature on this list was found by accident. A quarry worker, a fossil collector, a showman running a con, a team of researchers who almost didn't believe their own numbers. These are nobody expected. The world's 6 biggest sea creatures to be this big, and the final one only entered the record books in 2023. Number 6. Jacalopterus, Germany 2007. A fossil hunter pulls a claw out of the rock, just the claw, already the length of a human arm. At first, nobody believes it belongs to one animal. The size doesn't make sense. Then more pieces surface. A body, a tail, a shape starts to form. Jacalopterus, a sea scorpion, over 2 meters long. Longer than a grown man is tall, armored plating across its body. 2 massive claws, built for one purpose, grabbing prey and crushing it before it could escape. For tens of millions of years, before fish ever developed real jaws, animals like this one sat at the very top of the food chain. Not fish, not reptiles, arthropods. Then the balance of power shifted. Fish evolved. Better jaws, faster bodies, sharper vision. The giant sea scorpions lost ground, one hunting season at a time. By around 250 million years ago, the last of them vanished completely. Here's the strange part. Jacalopterus didn't even live in the open ocean. It lived in shallow, freshwater lagoons, calm, warm, oxygen-rich water, which means something about those specific conditions let arthropods grow to sizes we've never seen again, before or since. Nobody has fully explained why. No arthropod on Earth today comes anywhere close, but if a 2-meter scorpion unsettles you, the next predator on this list didn't need claws at all. It built its weapon directly into its jaw.
Number 5. Helicoprion. For almost 100 years, scientists had a fossil sitting in museum drawers that nobody could explain. A spiral of teeth, curled tightly like a seashell, no skull attached, no jawbone. For context, early researchers guessed wildly. Some thought it sat on the tip of the tail like a saw. Others thought it curled on top of the snout like a horn. One theory even had it coiled inside the throat. The animal underneath the mystery was Helicoprion, a cartilaginous predator related to modern sharks, growing up to 12 meters long, close to the length of a school bus. Instead of losing old teeth the way sharks do, Helicoprion kept every tooth it ever grew, rotating them inward along that spiral as new ones formed behind them. The weapon just kept getting longer. It hunted the oceans around 270 million years ago, long before the first dinosaur walked the Earth. Then came the largest extinction event this planet has ever recorded. Ocean oxygen levels collapsed. The water turned acidic. Somewhere around 90% of all marine species disappeared in a geological blink. Helicoprion's entire world stopped existing. It took until 2013, using CT scans instead of guesswork, for scientists to finally place that tooth spiral correctly inside the lower jaw, where it had been the whole time. 100 years to figure out how the animal even used its own weapon. But a mystery that took a century to solve is one thing. The next creature on this list was so enormous, scientists doubted their own tape measures.
Number 4. Leedsichthys, England, the 1880s. A fossil collector named Alfred Leeds keeps pulling enormous bones out of a clay pit near his home. Vertebrae the size of dinner plates, fin rays longer than a human leg, gill structures so large that experts initially assume the bones must belong to several different animals stacked on top of each other. They don't. They belong to one fish, Leedsichthys problematicus.
possibly 16 meters long, possibly the largest bony fish that has ever existed on this planet. And despite the size, it wasn't a hunter. It fed exactly the way whale sharks do today, opening its enormous mouth and filtering plankton straight out of the water, thousands of gallons at a time. It swam the seas around 165 million years ago, right in the middle of the dinosaur age, sharing the ocean with marine reptiles far more famous than it. Its size likely came from exactly what it was eating. Jurassic oceans were thick with plankton, an almost unlimited food supply for anything built to filter it. But abundance like that doesn't last forever. Ocean conditions shifted later in the Jurassic period, plankton levels dropped, and Leedsichthys disappears from the fossil record not long after. For over a century, its true size has been disputed because a complete skeleton has never once been found. An animal this large simply doesn't fossilize in one piece. It comes apart before it ever gets buried. Estimates have been revised up, then down, then up again for decades. Even now, paleontologists don't fully agree on exactly how big Leedsichthys really got.
But an animal that's difficult to measure is one kind of mystery.
The next creature on this list convinced sailors for over a century that real sea serpents existed in the water beneath their ships.
Number 3. Basilosaurus. New York City, 1845.
A showman named Albert Koch assembles a skeleton in a public hall and unveils it to a paying crowd. He calls it Hydrakos, the Water King. People line up to see it, a sea serpent, he claims, over 30 meters long. It's a hoax. Koch had wired together bones from several different animals to build something that never existed in nature, but the real animal buried underneath his fraud was genuinely strange all on its own. Basilosaurus, an early whale up to 18 meters long, with a body so long and impossibly slender it looks less like a whale and more like a giant sea-going eel. It still carried small hind limbs, tiny, functionless legs left over from land-walking ancestors, even though Basilosaurus itself never set foot on land in its entire life. It ruled the warm coastal seas around 40 million years ago, sitting comfortably near the top of the food chain with almost nothing left to hunt it. Then its world began to narrow. Global temperatures dropped, sea levels fell. The warm, shallow coastal seas Basilosaurus depended on for both habitat and prey began shrinking year after year. Within a few million years, the species was gone entirely. Here's what most people miss. Basilosaurus wasn't the hoax, but its unusually long, serpentine skeleton is exactly the kind of fossil that early collectors kept mistaking for genuine sea monsters, quietly fueling decades of monster sightings before anyone fully understood what ancient whales actually looked like. An eel-shaped whale, mistaken for a sea serpent, is strange enough. But the next animal on this list was built for something almost nothing else in the ocean was: pure, sustained speed.
Number 2. Shastasaurus, British Columbia, Canada. The 1990s. Quarry workers uncover something enormous buried in the mountain rock, a skeleton so large that early estimates put its length at over 20 meters, rivaling the biggest whales alive on Earth today. Shastasaurus secaniensis, an ichthyosaur, a marine reptile shaped almost exactly like a dolphin, despite the fact that it evolved 90 million years before dolphins even existed. As an adult, it had no teeth at all. Scientists believe it fed by suction, opening its jaws and pulling soft-bodied prey like squid straight into its mouth hole. It swam the oceans around 210 million years ago, during the late Triassic period, making it one of the largest marine predators to ever exist, long before Mosasaurus ever appeared, long before Megalodon was even a possibility. Then the world it depended on collapsed. A mass extinction event at the end of the Triassic reshaped ocean chemistry across the entire planet, and the largest ichthyosaur species vanished along with much of their prey. Smaller ichthyosaurs survived for tens of millions of years after that. The true giants never did, because the largest known specimen was recovered incomplete. Scientists have argued for decades over its actual size. Some later reanalyses bring the estimate down closer to 15 meters instead of 20. Even now, the maximum size Shastasaurus ever reached remains an open, unresolved question in paleontology. A 20-meter reptile shaped like a dolphin sounds almost impossible to believe, but the final animal on this list wasn't dug out of a mountain a century ago. It was found, identified, and confirmed alive in the fossil record less than 3 years ago. Number 1. Perucetus colossus, the Peruvian Desert, 2023. A research team excavating a remote site describes a whale unlike anything that has ever appeared in the fossil record. The bones aren't just large, they're unusually dense, packed almost solid instead of hollow, the way most whale bones typically are. When researchers finally calculate the animal's total mass, the number stuns even the scientists who found it. Perucetus colossus may have weighed up to 340 tons, possibly heavier than the blue whale, possibly the single heaviest animal that has ever lived on Earth. Heavier, by some estimates, than any dinosaur ever discovered. It swam roughly 39 million years ago, and unlike the blue whale, it almost certainly wasn't built for speed, and it wasn't a filter feeder. Its dense, heavy skeleton points to something slower, an animal that likely spent much of its life close to shallow water, more like a modern manatee than a modern whale. Why did evolution build something this heavy? Scientists still don't fully know. It disappeared from the fossil record, along with the broader lineage of ancient whales that eventually gave rise to the giants swimming in our oceans today.